I'm sitting in a jail cell. I've sent my story to my parents so that they can understand why I'm here, and why I'm refusing all the deals offered to plead guilty to assault and battery. Deals that could have saved me from jail, gotten me into some kind of community service, saved my marriage. Like that would have even been a consideration after what happened, and kept me free. I'm Bill Watson, 29 years old. I used to work construction until I got here. I have a wife, Julia, same age as me, and I thought that woman was going to be my family and I would grow old with her. When I said have a wife, that's exactly what I meant. She will soon be my ex-wife. I'm getting a divorce. Julia used to be, and probably still is, as far as I know or care, a secretary for one of the partners of a law firm. You know where this is going, obviously. These guys usually have a home wrecker around to expand their gene pool, but any female with a pulse under 50 is fair game, and if they have to use their position, so be it. They can use the law to get pretty much anything they want, and often money to make things go their way. This jerk, Ed Wood, his father started the firm, and Edwards has been cashing in as long as he doesn't screw things up too bad. To be fair, I can understand why women might find him attractive. He's about 6 feet tall, and a few inches and probably weighs around 200 pounds. Looks very fit, perma-tan, and just under 40. An attractive package, as my wife told me on several occasions. I never really cared, not that I haven't admired some of our mutual friends or even random girls we have encountered. We never pretended to each other that we were the only ones out of 8 billion people that we found attractive. Julia never gave me any reason to doubt her faithfulness. I thought we were very close, and we lived for each other. She still claims that's true, even though I'd be dead if I could understand how she could say that after what happened. One of the perks of being in jail is that I can refuse to see anyone I want. And I haven't spoken to Julia since the day I got here, even though both she and my lawyer, my family and some of our best friends have tried. I've told all of them the same thing, one more mention of her to me, and we are no longer family friends clients, whichever applies. A few of my friends and Julia's sister pushed for me to do that, and they are now on my list of people I refuse to see or talk to on the phone. My lawyer quickly figured out that he was about to be fired and didn't want that to happen because I am a potentially big money maker after the divorce and he's a good ambulance chaser. He wants the uncertain, but possible, big payday. I was sentenced to 2 years for aggravated assault. I did inflict serious bodily harm and could have faced 10 years. I think I got some leniency from the judge. I suspect his wife was cheating on him. In my summary and sentence, he commented about the serious provocation both by my wife's actions and her lover in my house, and by the lover's taunting and derision. However, he also noted that some of the injuries, there was a broken bone, were inflicted maliciously and that a prison sentence was necessary. He also said that I could have saved the state the cost of the trial if I had taken the DA's plea deal. So here I sit, 8 months into my sentence and expecting to get out in 12 with good behavior since I have no prior record. When I get out, I'm going to ruin a lot of lives. If that puts me back in here, so be it. People will get what they deserve, especially that Wood jerk. I guess the easiest way to say this is to tell you what I wrote to my parents. To my dearest mom and dad, I'm sorry if I've embarrassed you by being in jail. Embarrassing you is not something I ever wanted to do or ever thought would happen. My dilemma was, either I do this, or I can never look at myself in the mirror, because of the shame I would feel, to either live with what happened, or take the plea bargain I was offered to avoid jail. I hope you understand why I could never be that man. I love Julia with all my heart. I thought we would be together forever, which shows how I judge character. I didn't know she was involved with Wood in any way, although she did tell me casually that he was an attractive man. But so what? There are a lot of attractive people in this world, everyone comments on them. My life changed forever the day I left work early after we finished an addition to a house that morning, had a few beers at lunch with the whole crew, and everyone went their separate ways around 1:30. When I got home, like in all the cliché stories, there was a fancy Beam parked in my driveway, and no sign of Julia's car. That got me suspicious, although I never doubted her. Someone with a car like that obviously brought her home. As I walked into our quiet house, I heard sounds from upstairs and walked up to our bedroom. She was laying beneath her boss, legs spread as wide as they could go. and she was urging him to get it in me harder as he pounded away at her. He asked her if she was enjoying being fucked by a real man instead of her cuckold husband. I was stunned. It probably took me 15 seconds to react, and in those 15 seconds my rage built, and I hope I never feel like that again. He was a big guy, but then so was I, and he was a hand worker while I'd been breaking my back in construction. He might have had gym strength, I had hard work muscles on top of muscles. No contest. I grabbed him by the hair, pulled him off of her, and threw him into the wall. Looking down at Julia, who was pale with shock, I said to her, "Pack your things and get out of my house. You don't live here anymore." Wood got up by himself and looked like he wanted to be the big man. He said, "So the cuckold wants to play tough guy." As soon as he finished saying that, I punched him hard in the face. His nose exploded with a satisfying crunch that indicated it was broken, and blood splattered everywhere. "I don't test your luck, Wood. I'm warning you, you're not welcome in my house. If you don't leave, I'm going to hurt you really badly." The fool didn't heed my warning, and swung a punch, but I grabbed his wrist and twisted it back, forcing his wrist behind his back. Again I warned him, "Don't make me hurt you, Wood. If you hurt me, I'm going to have you locked up for a long time, and I'm going to be with your wife the whole time you're inside, you cuckolded weakling." He sneered. At least he did, until I forced his arm higher and higher, dislocating his shoulder, and then pulled him to the floor and stomped on his hand with my work boots, hearing the bones snap like dry twigs. As he screamed in pain, Julia ran up to me and said, "Stop, Bill. He can really get you in big trouble if you do this. Please stop." "Worried about your boyfriend, Julia?" I replied. "No, Bill, I'm worried about you. I don't want you to ruin your life over me and him. I'm such a fool." I looked at her with disgust and said, "That's none of your concern anymore. I told you to pack your things and leave." "But Bill," she tried to get closer to me. I lost it and spat in her face. I'm not proud of that. But it made her stop, and I yelled, "Pack your shit and get out of here, you goddamn whore. I never want to see you again." That seemed to do the trick, and she gathered a few things while sobbing. I turned back to Wood. "Looks like your name doesn't suit you, you prick. A smart man wouldn't be hooking up with the wife of a tough, rough brute like me, especially not using words like cuckold, unless he wants a few bones broken, which is what you are experiencing right now. Now listen to me, the minute that bitch is done, you and her are going to get in that fancy car in my driveway and leave. I suggest you let her drive you to the ER and see what they can do for your rest and your pain. Don't ever come back here, ever, and neither is she welcome. This is my grandfather's house, gifted to me before we got married. She has no right to it, so don't try any legal games with me. If you come back, I will hurt you really badly next time, so unless you like hospital food and wheelchairs, stay the hell away from me. She's your whore now, take her home to your wife and kids or dump her, I don't care." Julia wailed from behind me, "You bitch, it's all your fault. Julia, I'm not Jesus, I don't forget, and I sure as hell will never forgive you, you dirty, rotten whore. Your cheapskate lover should have enough money to rent a hotel room. Then you could have hidden me, but maybe you're just a cheap thrill, not good enough to waste money on. Just fucking her in your husband's bed. Eh?" I kicked Wood hard in the crotch. "Was that your idea, you prick, to do it in my bed?" Another kick to the crotch. Again he moaned in pain. "Give me one more reason, and I will ruin your life permanently." "Mom and Dad, I apologize for the language, but I want you to know exactly what happened to me and Julia. Of course, as you know, I'm getting a divorce. I will be a free single man when I get out of here. I won't ever look at her again. My last image of her will be me spitting in her face, which is what she deserves. I know you've gotten over it, Mom, but I'm never getting married again. I can't trust any woman ever again. Sorry, Mom, but I trusted Julia 100%, and look where that got me." As you know, I was arrested that night, and then the charade began. Wood wanted to make good on his promise to put me in jail. He had a detailed report of my injuries made to the sheriff's office. He got charges filed against me through his buddy in the DA's office. The charges included aggravated assault on him with serious jail time possible, up to 10 years, and he had Julia file a battery claim for me spitting in her face. I was arrested, as you know, and then the real dance began. I was notified that Julia dropped the battery charge. It was a minor issue anyway. I hired a lawyer, and he came to me with an offer from the DA. The offer was that I could plead guilty to simple assault and accept a 6-month suspended sentence for 3 years with an agreement to pay for Wood's medical bills. There were 2 conditions attached to this deal. 1. Wood insisted that I sign a non-disclosure agreement about what happened between us. He had obviously already told his wife that he was attacked. 2. I would agree to not divorce Julia until we participated in 10 sessions of marriage counseling. These 2 crooks wanted me to give them an escape route. That was never going to happen. I turned down the deal and decided to take my chances with a trial. My lawyer told me it was a good deal and told me that avoiding jail time altogether after the injuries I inflicted on Wood was a great outcome, and if the trial didn't go well, I could be looking at 10 years. I asked him if he understood the principles, what happened in my house, how Wood had tried to demean me in my own home, in my bed, with my wife. No way I would want to not have a pound of flesh regardless of my personal situation. Jail didn't scare me. I'm big and strong, I can handle myself, and when I get out, an ex-con can get a construction job. In any case, what I wasn't going to do was give up my right to revenge, ruin their lives, and I sure as hell wasn't going to participate in any reconciliation with Julia. She was dead to me. Days went by and I was notified I had a visitor. They had come to visit a few days before, and I figured it might be them again. When I was escorted to the room, they brought Julia in and I started yelling security. They came in to see what was going on, and I told them not to let that bitch in to see me again. She started to protest that she was my wife, but they escorted her out and told her that I didn't have to see anyone. I had my lawyer come in and start divorce proceedings. I also asked him if I could sue the firm that Julia and her direct boss, Wood, worked at. He said, yes and no, we're in a state that allows alienation of affection suits, but no one has gotten a successful judgment in over 20 years, but the firm might offer a settlement out of court to stop the bad publicity, and that we could definitely stir up a lot of stuff about the firm's lack of ethics. I asked him what happened if they made an offer to dismiss the action, before or after my divorce. He said it was simple. Wait until after the divorce. You want minimum assets when the divorce settlement is approved. Your house is safe, but she'll get 50% of the other assets. So that's what's going to happen to them after my divorce. If you talk to her, please don't mention what I'm telling you. I know you both love her like a daughter, but don't let me down on this one. Mom and Dad, I love you both. This won't last forever. And that's it. I hope now they understand, they know the whole story, and not what Julia and some of the friends who think I should forgive her have been telling. Before I was released, I ran into trouble with the divorce. Julia refused to agree unless I agreed to the counseling they suggested before, or I would let her visit 3 times, 1 hour each, in which I agreed to participate in a discussion with her. She was smart enough to know that I could happily sit there and ignore her. I really wanted to get away from her legally. I thought 3 one-hour visits were better than the original court-ordered option that was given. I briefly considered saying no to both, serving my time, and just simply disappearing, but hell, I wasn't going to let her drive me out of the house, and more importantly, away from my parents who were about to retire and would want to have their only son in their lives as they got older. I hated the thought of being in the same room with her, but against my wishes, I agreed to her 3-visit offer. If it got too much, I could call security and have her removed. Julia's first visit. Hi Bill, you seem to be in good health, taking in the scenery. For Christ's sake, Julia, all the scenery around me is directly because of you not knowing how to keep your legs closed and letting your boss fuck you in the ass. Say what you have to say and get out. I loathe you. Julia tried to play the tear card, but I don't care about her feelings anymore. I just plain hate her. And yes, I understand that hate isn't the opposite of love, it's more like love gone sour. It hasn't quite reached the mature indifference stage where your ex or soon-to-be ex doesn't mean anything to you anymore. Mature indifference, no care at all. That's what I'm hoping to achieve soon. Bill, I can't believe what I did to us. So there's 2 of us then, you bitch. Please Bill, please listen and don't just criticize me. I'm listening, Julia, but don't think I'm interested in what you're selling. You cheated on me in my house in my bed with a man who you heard him demean me, put me down while he was having sex with you. Do you think I can forgive you, forget about it, or even tolerate you anywhere in my life? Julia's face fell, tears streamed down her face. Bill, I saw this coming. That's why I requested 3 meetings. I can't do it today, but I'll come back. I love you no matter what you think. I messed it all up, but I love you. Julia, I agreed to 3 meetings, but listen, I truly hate you for what you did to us. Understand that it's not what you did, but you that I hate. I will never be with you again, and when these 3 meetings are over, I never want to see you again." She was speechless and had to knock on the door to be let out. Another visitor. A week later, another visitor, my mother. Even though I warned everyone, I knew she was coming to talk to me about Julia. "Bill, I know what you said about not talking about her. I guess I'm risking my relationship with you, but listen. Mom, you have privileges because you're my mother, but just this once, okay? I want her out of my life. There's nothing you can do to change that, so say what you have to say, Mom, and I will still love you." "Thank you, son. I love you more than anyone except your father. I know what she did to you was unforgivable, but I want to talk about her for you, not for her. I'm not trying to ask you to give her a second chance, she doesn't deserve it, and you don't need a wife you can't trust. But Bill, what I want to say to you is for your own good. You think you hate her now, and you might actually hate her, but until you get through all that hate, you're not going to have peace in your life. All I want you to do is talk to her without vitriol, don't anger her verbally. She came to talk to me last week. She's very upset, Bill, terribly upset, and she can't understand why she let that snake get her to drop her guard enough to betray you the way she did. She knows she's lost you. She knows you mean what you said to her when she came to visit. She's barely able to hear what you've intended. If you want to destroy her, you are well on your way to doing that. All I ask you to do is listen to what she wants to say to you, not to change your mind. I know you won't. Even she understands that there's no hope left. For the good times that you two shared, let her go with some dignity still intact. I think she's pretty close to the edge. How would you feel in 10 years if you knew your words were what led her to kill herself?" "Mom, I can tell you that right now. I wouldn't really care if she did, but you're right. Over time, I hope I can lose the hate and just retain the regret of what happened. I hate to feel that I'm responsible for her death." "Thank you, Mom. You're a wise woman. I'll stop trying to make her feel bad. I loved her with all my heart, but that won't change the divorce. I'll be out of jail in a few months. I don't want to go back, and I want to treat you and Dad for the love and support you've given me. I could never hope for better parents. Thank you for showing me the light. Mom, and I know this is for me, not Julia." Julia's second visit. "Hi, Julia. First, I want to say that I'm sorry for the way I talked to you the last time. That was kind of how I felt, but it was rude. My mother convinced me that for the good times we had before you messed it all up, I should be kinder to you." "Thank you, Bill. Your mom is a wonderful person. I didn't ask her to stick up for me. In my heart, I knew you would never give me another chance. I just wanted to tell you how I felt, and how awful I feel about what I did to the best man I've ever known or hoped to know. If I could tell you everything, maybe we wouldn't need this 3rd meeting. I don't want to cause you any more discomfort, but I want to take this opportunity to clear things up. I acted like a schoolgirl, a clueless, foolish teenager. I was almost 30, a woman who let herself be seduced by an older, handsome, seemingly sophisticated man, who paid attention to an ordinary girl, made her feel special, and made her betray the love of her life. I was so stupid, Bill, I know it. He threw a little money around, enough and a few compliments on my looks, my charm, and like a fool, I bought it, hook, line and sinker. Stupid as a rock. It took very little to get me to drop my drawers. It didn't even take that much persuasion, Bill. I sold myself very cheap for a little glitz and flattery. I want you to know that what I regret the most is bringing him into our bed, more than anything else in my betrayal, which is inexcusable. Again, you have no excuses, but it's what he does. That's his thing. To get into a relationship with a married woman in her husband's bed, and he's fallen into that, and was incredibly disrespectful to you. I'm so sorry. Bill, it breaks my heart to say this, but you're right to divorce me. I'm not worth it. If I don't value myself that way, how could I expect you to love me the way you always have? I wanted to save our marriage, I still do, but I know that will never happen. My heart is broken. I truly only ever loved you, but I will sign whatever is needed for the divorce. I won't prolong this. You deserve better than me. Bill, you're a great man. You would be a great father. I wanted nothing more than to have children with you and grow old with our family. If I could ask you for one thing, it's this. Don't let my stupidity ruin your life. Find the woman you deserve, have a family, and make you both happy. Make your parents proud. Live a great life. I wish that was me, but I'm too stupid to live. although I'm not brave enough to do what I should do. I hope one day you can think of me and smile because of what we had, not because of how I ruined everything. I've said what I needed to say to you, now I'm going to go. Just understand that I ruined my own life. Please don't let me ruin your life. I'll always love you. Goodbye, Bill. I was quite moved by all of that, and said to her, Julia, you're right, we can never be together again. It's simple, I can never trust you. But you've shown me a part of the woman I love today. Julia, I want you to know that with what you've said, I can't go back to loving you if I can't trust you, but I don't hate you anymore. I hope you have a good life, Julia. One bad mistake doesn't make you a bad person, just totally wrong for me. Goodbye, Julia. We hugged goodbye and she left. I knew what she had said was difficult for her. She took all the blame, that she was stupid. But she didn't say anything that would change my mind about divorcing her. And she said she would sign the papers, no need for that third meeting. Julia kept her word and signed the divorce papers, and our divorce was granted, pending the final decree. Right after my final meeting with Julia, my release date from jail was confirmed. I was released. My parents drove to the jail to pick me up. I had served my sentence without violating my parole to pursue my lawful purposes, and I had decided to make things difficult for a man named Ed Wood. The morning after my release, I went to see my lawyer. It was time to light a fire under Wood's life. I had spent a year in jail because of what I did to him. He had promised me jail time when I caught him in my bed with Julia, and I had dislocated his shoulder and broken several bones in his hand. Was a year of a 2-year sentence worth it? In my opinion, he only got a fraction of what he deserved. Now I was going to make sure that his life went downhill. My lawyer and I came up with a series of events to make Wood suffer. First, we would approach his firm, Wood, Collins, Thompson Mitchell Lawyers, to inform them of our intent to sue the firm for failing to stop a senior partner from sexually harassing and having a sexual relationship with a subordinate employee. Of course, we expected them to laugh and tell us that there hadn't been a case like that succeed in the state in 20 years. Our next step would be a media campaign, in which the wronged husband would cite chapter and verse about finding the senior partner in bed with his wife, in his own house, and that the poor husband was belittled by Wood, before there was any physical action taken to remove the lawyer from the house. If all of that wasn't enough, the man was jailed after Wood's friend, the DA, filed charges, and that the wronged husband had to serve a year of a 2-year sentence for assault, and that his divorce was nearly finalized after Wood's actions broke up the marriage. Luckily, my lawyer had a friend who was a journalist who hated Wood and always made sure that story got out and got national media attention. We hoped that Wood's partners would not like the stench that could follow a story like that, and they would settle out of court. My next target was Wood's marriage. He had broken up my marriage. I hoped to return the favor, but I would wait a bit until we were done with the law firm. We were totally right about how things would play out. Wood, Collins, Thompson Mitchell responded with a chuckle. They told us that we must have a lot of money to waste, and we would never see a dime of a judgment. My lawyer's next letter terrified the firm. Suddenly it wasn't funny anymore. Suddenly they were angry and threatened to bankrupt me if I breathed a word of this to the press. No exaggeration, I was close to that anyway. Bankrupt, jailed for 12 months, little to no savings and a shaky outlook. The perfect position to not be afraid of being bankrupted. That's exactly what he told them in his next letter. He embellished it by saying that he would be taking the case pro bono because of the level of injustice that the poor wronged husband had endured. They requested a meeting in their offices with my lawyer and me. When we were escorted to their conference room, he was there, the jerk himself. As I sat down, he couldn't help himself. Well, if it isn't the cuckolded jerk. I hear you're here with your begging bowl looking for a handout. You enjoy your time in jail that I set up for you with the DA. I know you were too stupid to take the deal he offered you. He sat back and laughed. Wood, I told you what would happen if you talked to me like that again. You just scheduled yourself another appointment with the pain doctor. Suddenly, oh, for God's sake, Ed, drop the macho crap. We're trying to settle this, not make it worse. It was Murphy Mitchell, another son of the original founder. Ed, if you can't stop running your mouth, you might as well leave the rest of us to handle this. Slightly flustered at his partner's rebuke. Okay, Murphy, I get it. The cuckold and I have history. That's what brought us all here today. Let's hear what they have to say. My lawyer, Giles, spoke. Gentlemen, The issue is simple, as outlined in the letter. We are planning to pursue a claim for alienation of affection. This action may be considered frivolous, and we don't expect it to lead to anything substantial, except it provides us with a wonderful opportunity with the help of a productive journalist to get massive publicity for your law firm. Although telling the unfortunate story of Mr. Watson's betrayal and jailing through a partner's close friendship with the DA may not be the kind of free advertising that you desire. So this is basically an attempt to blackmail this firm, Thompson said angrily. He was Howard Thompson, another senior partner, and the oldest son of Arnold Thompson, another founding partner. Mr. Thompson, my client, lost his wife and had to spend a year in jail. If it wasn't for partner Ed Wood's completely inappropriate actions, he would still be married, still have a loving wife, still have a job, and never had to go to jail. This firm treated my client poorly, and if the courts won't grant him justice, we will use the methods that will make that happen. Let me tell you that my friendly journalist's ex-wife used to work here. Guess who she worked for? He has every motive to drag all of you through the mud of public opinion. He would do it with glee. The other gentleman, I assume you all are gentlemen, except Wood, and don't condone his actions, might want to consider if your best interests are protected by keeping him as a partner. A sharp snort came from Tyler Collins, who had been silent up to that point. Indeed was all he said, looking at Wood as if there was something under his shoe. Giles spoke up again. We think $1 million is not entirely unreasonable, but a fair consideration under the circumstances, to, let's say, resolve this discomfort for the firm. Tyler Collins spoke up again. We'll let you know at the close of business today. Have a good day. Watson, I apologize for what that bastard has done to you. With another snort, he left the room, steam almost coming out of his ears. It took less than 2 hours for us to hear that the partners had not only agreed to pay the settlement, but they also wanted Giles to let me know that the other partners had bought out Wood for a very low price, and he was no longer a partner, and I had to sign to acknowledge a full and final settlement with their firm and attest that they would not be subject to any further claims. Another part of my resolve was complete. Now it was time to take care of the other matters. I had the biggest wish left to fulfill. That was to get revenge on Wood, no lawyers involved, just my own malice and a bit of innate cunning. I started getting to know Wood's wife. She went to the gym 4 mornings a week to stay in shape. She had the beauty of a woman in her 30s, a little wider in the hips than before she had her 3 children, but still a very attractive woman. God only knows why she wasn't enough for Wood. I followed her for 2 weeks to understand what she did and where she went. Interestingly, on Thursday mornings of the work week, she seemed to spend some time at a man's house who was probably 10 years younger than her. I decided that catching her when she emerged from there 2 hours later on a Wednesday might be a good day to surprise her. That's what I did. Mrs. Wood, can we talk? I asked as she was walking the 100 yards back to her car. I'm sorry, I'm in a hurry, she replied. Does your husband know you come here on Wednesdays, Mrs. Wood? That got her attention. Both of them were bad, both of them cheaters, but let's explore what we really have here, I thought. Okay, what do you want? Just a short chat, Mrs. Wood. Let me buy you a cup of coffee across the street. Don't worry, this is a public place, and I'm not dangerous. We walked across the street and sat down. I started with, do you remember when your husband came home injured more than a year ago? Dislocated shoulder and broken fingers? She nodded that she remembered. I don't know what he explained, but I did that to him. You see, I caught him in my bed, between my wife's legs, and when I pulled him off of her, he tried to belittle me, so I dealt with him. Did he tell you he's not a partner at Wood, Collins, Thompson Mitchell anymore? She shook her head. No. I did that to him too, indirectly. Now I'm working on ruining his life even more. Mrs. Wood, you know your husband has done this before, I presume. I have. He's done it for most of our marriage. In recent years, I've started to have some fun on my own, like you've discovered. My latest is Simon, the one I was at his house this morning. He has a real satisfying tree, and he knows how to use it, much better than my husband. Edwards has a pretty good package, but he's basically not interested in anyone but himself. She gave me a slight smile before continuing. I'm not saying this to put you down, Mr. Watson, but what the hell was your wife thinking? Edwards is just average in bed. You're at least as big as him, so probably not much difference in package size. Why? She must have been crazy, maybe he worked her too hard at work, maybe he charmed her, he can do that. Mrs. Wood, my ex-wife can't explain it, she blames herself for being so easily deceived by him. She is so sorry that she bought into that kind of person. So I presume you've a comfortable lifestyle and so you endure his unfaithfulness and get your own comfort elsewhere, I said with a slight bit of frustration. Oh, I see, Mr. Watson, you hope to find a faithful homemaker to get mad at for her husband's infidelity? Maybe you want to engineer a divorce. I nodded. That's right. I'm afraid I have to disappoint you, Mr. Watson. I'm too comfortable with my life. And more importantly, I have 3 children who are still young. And besides, for the last 8 years, I've had the best sex of my life. Not with my husband, of course. Simon is special, wow. Just wow. I wish it could be more than one morning each week, however. I'm playing the odds, so I try to be discreet, but obviously not discreet enough, since you figured it out. You should know that I tolerated Edwards. I really did love him once, but his cheating killed that. I think having children makes things less clear, Mr. Watson. I presume you and your ex-wife didn't have any? In any event, I'm the one in our relationship with the wealth. I have a substantial trust fund from my grandfather. If we split, I might have to pay him alimony. I'm not sure it might be protected, but I never even considered divorce. Because of the kids, I keep Edwards around. He might be an asshole, but he's actually a good father. Just a thought, Mr. Watson. I said I try to be discreet, but I'm sure Edwards knows about my other boyfriends. Sometimes on Wednesday nights, I don't shower completely after I've had my fun with Simon. I like giving Edwards a taste of Simon's essence. I even think he knows, and even though he pretends to be a horn dog cheating on men like you, I think he has a thing for tasting other men's cum from my vagina. She gave a wide grin across the table and said, as I said, it would be better to service my plumbing more than once a week. You interested in getting back at him? You see, I wouldn't mind helping you get revenge by giving Edwards a taste of your seed, you free Friday morning. It's got to be morning. I pick up my kids from school in the afternoon. I was getting over my frustration as it was clear that Wood's marriage wasn't breaking up anytime soon, but his relationship with his wife. Tit for tat, as they say, and her offer to give him a taste of my seed, icing on the cake. I'm May, Mr. Watson. I should know your name if we're going to be doing this. I'm Bill, May, and I'm looking forward to Friday. I know your address. I'll call you at 10. I presume the kids will be in school. She nodded yes. So, not what I expected, but she's a beautiful woman who enjoys sex and is volunteering to give me revenge. What's not to like? I hadn't had sex since I caught him with my cheating wife Julia. This seems very appropriate. We parted with a promise to meet on Friday. Even though it wasn't what I was looking for, I was looking forward to breaking my dry spell. It had been over a year since I'd had anything but Mrs. Palm and her daughter. The thought of having sex with Wood's wife might have been only as attractive as revenge, even if she looked like the back of a bus, but she was a beautiful woman. It would be interesting to get to know her intimately. What I could never have guessed was how interesting it would become, why I don't know, but by Friday morning of that week, we were simply in bed. The first time was just a rough fuck, although it should have been a capital F fuck. I saw her naked, and she saw my dick, and we both did. When we were declared done, we lay together, not separating, but hugging each other tightly, as if to confirm that what we felt actually happened. I felt an immediate connection, and I never lost my erection. I was just ready to go again. And when she realized we were just doing it again, hard and fast, incredibly physically and mentally appealing, I knew then that I felt something between us, a kind of connection, totally on a physical level. I guess anything more than that was fantasy. We hardly spoke that morning. The touch was all that mattered. After round 2, we still didn't talk, just held each other and caressed each other. I didn't remember the last time I felt so satisfied. Yes, it had been a very long dry spell, but this felt so natural with someone I barely knew. May finally spoke. Bill, your wife is a stupid slut. She threw away that amazing dick for my husband. Dumb. I told you he's got decent size. He's as long as you, but yours is way thicker. Yours is a real chunk, not a pencil, and your balls are huge. If I knew you were like this, I'd have stuck a towel under my ass. She laughed. The funny thing is, there's a big wet spot on his side of the bed. I think I'll leave the sheets like this, just for that jerk. You know we're going to do this more, right? I raised my eyebrows and asked, you better believe it, buddy, you are a better lay than Simon. If you don't have anyone else, I'll happily be your Friday fling if you're into this. Fucking your enemy's wife. Besides, is it just me, or do we have a connection? I smiled back at her and said, May, you have no idea how much I need this. It's amazing, maybe the best lay I've ever had. Better than any I've ever had with Julia, to be honest, and yes, I feel a huge connection. I don't want to let you go. So you can consider me your Friday fling for as long as you want. I can't imagine revenge being any sweeter. Speaking of sweeter, I want to taste that beautiful kitty. Okay, I've got to clean up a little first. No, don't get out of bed. You've never been afraid of any sexual flavors, especially your own. Lay back and let me enjoy you. May spent the next 20 minutes in a state of bliss. No one had ever given her oral sex like this. She loved the feeling. She arched up even higher and moaned the biggest orgasm of the day. She came down from her high, and this time they held each other and fell asleep in each other's arms for 20 minutes. When they woke, Bill had woken up a little earlier and was studying May's beautiful face as her eyes opened. You like what you see, Bill? May, you are a beautiful woman. Why your stupid husband would go after other women? I don't know. I know if I had you at home, I would never cheat. I'll keep that in mind, Bill. I don't see my marriage lasting much longer. I've been trying to hang on for the kids. Listen, Bill, we barely know each other, but this is a great start. I want to have sex with you again before you need to leave, and I have to get the kids ready for school. And so they did it again, feeling more connected than ever. Real feelings were emerging in what was initially simply each of their revenge on her jerk of a husband. 4 weeks later, the excitement hadn't faded at all when they had sex, and they were becoming more affectionate each passing week. This was starting to become more than revenge. This Friday, in the afterglow of what was definitely making love more than having sex, May went from being cuddled to looking directly into Bill's eyes. She kissed him lightly on the cheek and said the famous words, "Bill, we need to talk." She kissed him hard to assure him that this wasn't a bad talk, but Bill was afraid that she was going to end their relationship. Bill, I told you that I had family money. I'm a trust fund kid. I think that's why Edwards married me. I'm a beautiful wife, but more importantly, financial security. So what I haven't told you is that that money is really big. My grandfather was a real bastard, never gave anyone a fair chance, and accumulated more than any man could spend in his lifetime. But if there was a man who could try his best to spend it, it was his only son, my father. Grandpa didn't trust him to make the best of his millions. Hundreds of millions. Bill. So he gave my father a monthly allowance that kept him comfortable but not extravagantly wealthy, and the rest was put into a trust that he decided would be entirely mine when I turned 38. I'm not sure what 38 meant to him, but I'll hit that mark in 8 months. After our first Friday, I'm not sure why, but I was compelled to check the terms of my trust because of the potential for divorce. It's very tight. Edwards can't touch any of it. I brought it into the marriage. Neither of us added to it. Basically, it's untouched, although I can withdraw a relatively small amount annually, that if it doesn't exceed, it maintains the untouched status, which my financial advisor said might be important. But overall, he's sure it can't be touched. That made me think, do I really need Edwards? Could I just give him unlimited visitation rights with the kids in our agreement? For the last month or so, I've realized that I've been putting up with Edwards. I don't really love him at all. Why do I have to be tied to a jerk who constantly betrays me? I know it sounds hypocritical, but he cheated on me many times before I cheated. Bill, I'm not saying that I want you to replace Edwards. I'm saying that I've developed feelings. I want to be able to see you on my terms, as often as you and I would like, and I think we could be more than a fling. I'd be happy to dump Simon if you agree to this. May, that is maybe the best we need to talk in the history of mankind. I thought you were going to say thanks and goodbye. I'm totally on board with what you're suggesting. Just like you, I think we started as revenge. I think we're rapidly becoming so much more. We kept our Friday schedule going until we could talk properly. She told me that she saw Simon on Wednesday, but just to say thanks and goodbye. Bill, I have a very mean, but also very fun idea. Let me tell you my devious plan. I want to set up Edwards on Friday morning of next week. As she finished saying that, I couldn't stop smiling. This woman is a genius. I love it. And so, the following Friday, May and I were in the midst of our Friday morning fuck-a-thon. We couldn't get enough of each other at this point, and there was a gentleman named Murphy Carter, dressed in a business suit, sitting quietly in the living room downstairs, not paying attention to anyone's business, when we heard, "Who the hell are you? And how did you get into my house? Where's May?" It was Edwards. May had called him and told him there was something important that required his presence at the house by noon. He told her he was busy and tried to get more information, but she reiterated that it was important and that he had to be there. "Are you Mr. Ed Wood, sir? Your wife told me to wait for you. She's upstairs with her, well-mannered, friend if you'd like to see her." What the hell is going on? We heard Edwards coming up the stairs just as I was getting to the short strokes. May was watching the doorway, awaiting her brilliant performance. As he came into the bedroom, my back was towards him as he walked into the bedroom. That's when May started. "Oh, right, Bill. You know how to treat a woman, make me your slut." A little exaggerated but persuasive enough for the gasping Wood. "Edwards, you look like you're going to have a heart attack. Calm down, I'm just having sex with someone else like you do." That was the signal for me to turn around so he could see who was having sex with his wife. "That fucking cuckold? You're kidding me," he yelled. "Why are you fucking that weakling in my bed? Get him out of here before I kill him." I got out of bed and walked towards him. "So the cuckold, how do you like my revenge? Speaking of killing me, don't you think you're confusing ambition with ability? Remember I promised to have you visit Dr. Payne, right?" He was pale with fear. I said, "Relax, we have a different kind of pain for you. There's a gift for you under the pillow, why don't you go get it?" I pushed him towards the bed. He reached under the pillow and brought out a brown envelope. May and I said together, "You've been served." Murphy Carter had followed him upstairs and taken a picture before saying, "Official." Perfect. We pulled it off and the fool just stood there. I rarely saw anyone more shocked. Unless you count the time I dislocated his shoulder, I guess. May lightly slapped Edwards to help him out of his shock. She told him that after what he did to me, this was equal revenge. That she didn't love him anymore. That his cheating throughout the marriage had finally turned the love she had for him into real hatred. That she had promised to never separate him from his children, and that she would allow him unlimited access to them. Finally, so that he could hire a lawyer if he wanted, but they could use the same lawyer, because she was sure that they could do this the right way, divorce, and not make it a fight, keep it clean for their children's sake. Edwards, to his credit, nodded continually in agreement with her. He may be an asshole, but he wasn't stupid. He knew his marriage was over, and fighting would just cost time and money. I stood there quietly watching his world fall apart. I had achieved more than I had set out to do. I was divorced from Julia, and thanks to my mother, I did it gracefully. She made a mistake that destroyed her life. She apologized, and I know she meant it. She accepted her fate. Why make it worse? My mom was right. I had gotten $1 million from Julia's boss, and now, with the help of his wife, I had turned the tables on Wood by cuckolding him, which in part, I contributed to the demise of his marriage. Plus, I might have achieved what Julia had asked for when she said, "Don't let my stupidity ruin your life. Find the woman you deserve, have a family and make you both happy, make your parents proud, live a great life." Julia made a mistake, but she gave me good advice when her hope was extinguished.